you got to be open about it, of course, and most guys can't pull this off. But what I'm saying is that guys are going to cheat anyway. It's just that some of them do it surreptitiously because they don't have the value to tell their girl overtly, I'm going to step out on you.
So one thing I wanted to clarify, when you're talking about like you're providing for a woman, you're talking about mostly tangibles, which is inherently connected to money, correct?
Yeah, but of course you're providing for her emotionally as well.
How are you going to do that well when you've got like 20 other women on the go?
Women are the more vulnerable sex. So if you see a guy, you don't know where he stands. He might be weird, etc. But if there's other girls with him, it makes him far more attractive. It's literally social proof. So my thing is, whether the guy enacts on that sexual capability or he doesn't, it still makes him more attractive. However, on the other side, for the female, I don't need to go to the club with Fresh and have him tell me that girl's bad in the bathroom during our meeting for me to go have sex with her. If she's hot, I'm going to leave with her. I don't need her cosign. Women, however, she'll find the guy attractive.
His tendency to just go off on tangents is really annoying.
Women, however, she'll find the guy attractive. She's still going to go to the bathroom with her girlfriends and be like, what do you think? Am I going to be a hoe if I do this? What do you think? Blah, blah, blah. Women need a cosign from other women. So what I'm saying is that, back to your thing, is I can love my girl, have sex with her, and go have sex with another girl and come back to my girl like nothing happened. However, it typically doesn't work the other way around, where a girl's having sex with another guy and still loves you the same.
But that's such a subjective claim, and he talks so fast and jumps from topic to topic to topic to the point that it makes it really hard to nail him down, because the points he's bringing up are not necessarily related, but he's framing it in such a way that makes it sound like they are. So in a sense, they're loosely related. So for example, don't you think it's crazy that during summer, ice cream sales go up, but also shark attacks go up? Oh my God. That must mean that shark attacks are linked to ice cream sales. Isn't that crazy? Like, maybe we just shouldn't buy ice cream, because if we buy ice cream, we're going to get attacked by sharks. Sharks. Have you ever seen a shark before? Sharks are absolutely vicious. Sharks can smell blood from a mile away. And don't you think they'd be able to smell the ice cream in your breath? It's like weird. He does these like weird mental gymnastics that are a cross between being annoying as fuck but also hilarious.
Some girls that can do it, yeah, but I would argue most women can't, because most women want to be monogamous to a degree.
If I could clarify,
Sure,
what are the things that you think when you're going with the other woman, what are these other women attracted to you? We said I can stay really attracted to other women, which is why they want me. What are these specific things?
Well, women universally like certain traits.
You got to stop talking about women in such like absolute generalities. Different women are attracted to different types of men who earn different types of incomes and have different types of lifestyles that can offer them different types of attention. It's not like women are attracted to this, women are attracted to that. You could say on average, certain women are attracted to this and certain women are attracted to that, just like you could say on average certain men are attracted to this and certain men are attracted to that. But when we start speaking in absolutes, it paints women as like a monolith. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're all the same, but they're not.
Tall, fit, decisive, confident, ambitious. These are typical, and there's a bunch of other traits as well.
Light skin.
Light skin.
Actually, no, you're wrong. Black.
So if a man possesses these traits, he's going to be attractive to a while, and obviously income and the ability to provide security and social status. So if a man has these things, he's going to be attractive to a wide demographic of women, and the more attractive you are to a wide demographic of women, other women want you. Look at Leonardo DiCaprio. He has a terrible reputation according to women. Won't fuck a girl over 25 or won't date a girl over 25. He's a womanizer, etc. But why do the women keep going back to him? Look at Dan Blazarian. He's taking pictures.
You also need to stop throwing dirt on Leo's name. You reading from fucking headlines and what he said, she said. That's dangerous territory, and you would think the king of copyright strikes would be a little more careful with what he says about people, especially if it's unsubstantiated and doesn't come from the horse's mouth. But Fresh and Fit strike me as reckless individuals who have no sense of social responsibility or etiquette. So if these are the people you want to look to as your role models, feel free, but being rude, disrespectful, and insensitive isn't going to get you very far in life. Unless, of course, you're born into a pile of wealth or something, then maybe you're off to a good start. Or, of course, you have the skills to be a shock jockey who can go on the internet and appeal to people's darkest sides. If you fall into either of those categories, then by all means, be a fucking asshole. But if you don't, just know that the way he's behaving right now is not going to benefit you in the long term.
I've always said it. This is going to be offensive to ladies here, but having bitches is passive income to get other bitches. I hate to say it like that, because women, when they see other women with you, they automatically assume you're cool and you're fun.
And the self-hate and some of these women, just to double back to it, it's just astounding. This girl just nodded her head when he basically just said, like, women are disposable dogs that you could just use to leverage for other women's attention, and she's like nodding her head along. But granted, I shouldn't go in on her too badly because she's what, 22, she said? I'm pretty sure I believe some dumb shit at 22.
I hate to say it like that, because women, when they see other women with you, they automatically assume you're cool and you're fun, and they want to get to know you because it creates intrigue.
Yeah, if they're fucking airheads, they're gonna make all those assumptions, but if they're not, they're gonna be attentive and they're gonna observe you for a longer period of time before they actually put themselves out there.
Men don't need that, though.
Do you think that these traits are what make you a good husband or father?
So here's okay. You know what? Fantastic point.
Good question.
Really, really good question. High IQ question. I would argue yes, and the reason why is because if I'm able to have sex with a lot of girls and establish which women are worthy of a relationship and which ones aren't, I'm setting myself up for success because I'm marrying a woman that, number one, has earned, you know, the privilege of being my girl, and then I know that she's going to be a good mother. Because if she's a good wife, because I picked her, then she's going to inevitably be a good mother as well. Because we know two-parent households are critical.
Wait, what the... Bro, you still jumping from topic to topic to topic, completely unrelated to the question that this woman just asked. She asked, are the traits that you see in a fuckboy the kinds of traits that you would want from a husband? And she asked you to distinguish between those traits. And you're giving a whole spiel about fucking, you know, if a wife is a good wife, then she's going to be a good mother. And, like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Because we know two-parent households are critical to the development of strong children.
Facts. Sure. My concern is, so I talk a lot about men's mental health. That's kind of like what I do my YouTube content on. And we see that men are increasingly depressed, they're increasingly lonely, and they're getting divorced at a super high rate. They're suicidal, and they're addicted all the time.
Yeah, and motherfuckers like Fresh and Fit are making that worse.
And I worry that part of this is because we've attached a man's value to his GDP. We've said a man is valuable, and I think women do this to men as well, when he has income, because we see money as essentially a heuristic for what you would say is stability providing.
Yeah.
The issue is that, like, a guy who can provide all of these things isn't inherently a good father. And I would argue that when you're using this dating strategy with women, I'm concerned that the women that you attract and maintain a relationship with aren't the women who are going to be willing to invest into you. You want a woman who's going to find you attractive when you're broke and you're just trying to get your IT degree, and she sees something in you and is willing to stick beside you. But most women of that quality, if they find out that they can't trust you in a negotiation, and to be honest, most women want monogamy, these women aren't going to be interested in you. And so I'm concerned that the dating strategy that you're suggesting actually ends up with women that are more, that exhibit more fatherless behavior. Because I would argue fatherless behavior is when women look at a man and they see a wallet. That to me is fatherless behavior. When a man's GDP is just all that matters to her. Because when girls don't have dads, a lot of time the relationship they have is either none, or it's a dad who pays alimony, buys her expensive gifts when he feels bad for not being around her, right?
Okay, that's a good argument. So on this podcast, we tell guys all the time, you don't make the money to get the girls, you make the money so women are a byproduct of your success. So when you're in a position where you've dated women, you have money, you've built up certain competency skills, what happens is, and we tell guys all the time, you need to vet a girl for about 1 to 2 years bare minimum,
at least,
so that you can go ahead and establish and see what she's really there for. And most girls,
what the fuck does that even mean, vet a girl for 1 to 2 years? Like, what does that entail? When he gives these prescriptions, sometimes they're so vague and it's difficult to understand like what he means or like what you're supposed to do with that information.
Girls, you know, are not going to be able to keep up the charade for much longer. So my thing is, you got to get out there and date women, figure out which women are, you know, worthy of relationship, which ones aren't, because in today's day and age, what you mentioned, like a lot of girls want guys with income. Are they going to take a chance on a guy that's IT? The reality is most girls aren't. With Instagram, social media, women have more options than ever.
That's not true. What other choice do they have? Not all women can bag them a man that's in the top 1%. So they have no choice but to entertain men who don't fall into that category, like statistically. But the issue is, when you're a man who buys into all this red pill bullshit, what happens is you end up making yourself less attractive because you're listening to men's advice on how to attract women. Think about that for a second. How crazy that shit sounds. You're listening to men's advice on how to attract women instead of putting yourself out there and gaining the proper social skills and romantic etiquette you need to be a good dater or a good boyfriend or a good husband.
Women are far less tolerant of a man that isn't capable. I'm sorry to say, college education, feminism, women earning more money, having more degrees. Women are doing really well right now financially. Women are out earning men in a lot of major cities in the United States nowadays. So women have less tolerance for man's financial ineptitude. So therefore, men must perform. There's no way around it.
I guess it depends on what you define as financial ineptitude, bro. Because everything that you're saying is vague. So what constitutes as financial aptitude? Is it a man who's making 50,000? What if he meets a woman who's making 30,000 or 40,000? She's making less than him. By definition, when you compare their incomes, she probably wouldn't see him as someone who's financially inept, because she would have to see herself as that. And if she sees him as inept for making $10,000 more than her, how do you think she sees herself? And do you really want to date a girl who is judgmental to the extent that she sees somebody who's making more than her as financially inept, that she sets these double standards where somebody who's making a little bit more than her is financial inept, but she on the other hand is the best thing since sliced bread? Nah, you don't want to date a girl like that. You want to date somebody who's going to hold you down and be there for you. Now, that doesn't mean you could just go on autopilot and be okay with making $40,000-$50,000 a year. Of course, you want to get a job where there's mobility, where you could work your way up inside of a company, where you got benefits. But there ain't shit wrong with being a fucking mailman or a firefighter or a police officer, or some men, you know, become nurse technicians. They get paid good money. Like, there's nothing wrong with those occupations. And there are plenty of women who date men within those occupations. Where a lot of men get it fucked up is they're like, no, there aren't a lot of women dating men in those occupations because I'm in that occupation and women aren't dating me. And at that point, bro, you got to ask yourself, is the reason I'm not attracting females because I'm working in this occupation or making X amount of money? Or is there a vibe? Is there an energy that I'm giving off that repels females? And this type of ideology, bro, if he was sitting in a room full of regular girls that he didn't recruit to come onto the show and read them a script, girls in real life, they would look at this guy like he's crazy.
Most girls are not going to take a chance on you. Most girls want a guy that's ready to go. You know, no fucking assembly required. That's where we live in now.
I wholly agree with you.
So with that said, they gotta.
No, don't give them that. It's possible to be a motherfucker like me. I work a decent job. I don't get paid much, but I ain't broke. But even when I was broke, I didn't really have a problem attracting females. A lot of times it's about the energy you give off. And if you're giving off weirdo red pill energy, or you're over calculating your interactions with women and trying to gamify these social exchanges, that's gonna be evident. Maybe you don't think it's evident. Maybe you don't think a woman could read that shit and pick up on it, but they can.
Stuff together from a financial standpoint, that's gonna create competency. Then they also gotta get out there, date girls, become the best version of themselves, figure out which girls are for the streets, which girls aren't, and then vet from there for a period of 1 to 2 years.
And then they're gonna be the streets, bro. See, that's another issue with the red pill ideology, that either you're a hoe or you're a goddess. Yo, people are complicated. You can't stick them into binaries like that, because that shit is just inaccurate. It doesn't reflect reality.
Be able to figure out, is this girl with me for the right reasons? And then that's where they can go.
And let's be real here. Girls want a guy with experience. Let's say, for example, right? You don't want to date a virgin because you got to teach them how to have sex, how to really be a man. So a guy with experience is attractive.
And there are different types of experiences to have, but you just mentioned one. Some women are okay with teaching their man different shit. I know men in marriages who have their wife do the taxes for them. And if she didn't do the taxes for him or know how to pay for the light bill and electricity, he wouldn't know how to do that shit, because they got together when they were like teenagers, and now they're in their 40s. They got a beautiful family. She's committed to him, he's committed to her, and she holds that shit down. So yes, generally speaking, women do find men who are experienced and mature more attractive, but that just goes to my point. If we going by that standard, bro, most women would not find these motherfuckers attractive because they don't come off as mature.
Okay, with no experience, Where do you go from there?
I mean, you grow and you develop with each other as two mature adults do. What it sounds like is you motherfuckers keep advocating for men to reach these unreasonable heights where we must be finished products in order to attract women. Bro, that's not how the real world works.
And these I don't think the average girl wants a guy though with like 200 bodies.
Yes, she does.
But
absolutely.
I don't think it really matters.
As long as you care about that person.
No,
so here's the answer to that question. Women are not even capable of like knowing the number. They don't want to know, but they want a guy who has fucked 200 women to be good enough to fuck her properly.
They might want the guy. They might want the type of guy that can get 200 women.
The way he starts the sentence off, women are not even capable of. From there, you already know that like these motherfuckers are just bitter.
This woman outside of the insane Miami circles, if you tell him you've got 200 bodies, she's not going to look at you twice.
Women
You're insane.
I think the point that they're trying to get at is that it's not about, oh, he slept with 200 women. The point is that women, we don't want to know, right? Exactly. And that's like kind of like weird how you put it that way, because like
women, why don't you want to know?
They only don't want to know if the guy's a piece of shit. Like if you're a bum or a beta, they're like, I don't want to know.
But here's the thing: if you have to ask that, and you're not the type of person that wants somebody like that, why are you even entertaining somebody that you have to ask that question?
I don't think their past matters that much though. Like if they're treating you right, like, and they're like open with you and
the
nice.
The fact that this Asian girl, she just seems extremely judgmental. Like she has a sour personality. I would not want to interact with her on any grounds, not socially, not romantically, not professionally. She just strikes me as someone who's deeply antisocial. Whenever you start using labels like bum and beta to describe people, particularly with the word bum, you're not chastising them for who they are. You're chastising them for what they have. And that's real fucked up. I think there are few words in the English language that are as hurtful and outright callous as the word bum. Because you're not talking about somebody being conniving, manipulative, dishonest, greedy, lazy. That's a comment on what somebody has. Because you're not going to call a millionaire a bum. You're going to call that to somebody who's homeless on the street. You're going to call that to somebody who's been wearing the same pair of shoes for 3 years, got scuff marks all over them, dirty as hell. You know, somebody who's riding around in a hoopty and lives in the projects. You commenting on what somebody got and placing a negative value judgment on that instead of examining who they are as human beings. So y'all might not think it's that deep, but I do. Coming from an impoverished background, that word hits deep with me.
To you and doing the right things for you, then what the fuck does it matter?
Well, because that same guy will look at the woman and say if she has over 20 bodies, then she's for the streets.
And then he's a jerk.
Sure, I know, but that's what the argument is here.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with Destiny on this. I can't say. I don't think that women care too much about your body count so long as you don't talk about it. I would highly recommend not talking about your previous relationships and your current one unless it is applicable, unless you are aware that there are habits that you picked up in a past relationship that are coming out in your current one, and say you're giving an explanation for why you're moving the way you do. So for example, if you just got out of an abusive relationship and you're going into a healthy one, but you're still carrying the same habits that you picked up when you were in your previous relationship, I think it might be important to talk to your partner about that, especially if they're seeing red flags or signs that you might not be healthy. I don't think there's anything wrong with just giving them a little context for why you are the way you are and why, you know, you're striving to be better and striving to move on and get past that previous relationship. But don't harp on it. Don't harp on your previous sexcapades. Don't do that.
So number one,
know the difference in having sex.
with guys, we tell guys all the time, discovery trumps disclosure. You never tell a girl what your body count is. She's going to be able to tell, because the thing is, man, when you're charmed, because here's the thing, women want a guy that's charming, attractive, etc., right? They want to enjoy the pizza, but they don't necessarily understand what it takes to make said pizza. If you go to your favorite pizza place, right, maybe down there in South Philly, right, they have a special formula. They have the dough at a certain temperature, the water at a certain temperature. So no one gives a fuck how the pizza's made. They just want to enjoy the end product. And that's kind of how women are when it comes to men.
Yep.
What they don't realize, though, is for that guy to get to that point where he's charming, he knows how to say all the right things, his place is nice, he dresses well, he knows what cologne to wear, whatever. It comes from experience. It takes from a lot of trial and error. Okay? Mm-hmm. So you might have to get 50, 20, 100, 200, 300 bodies, whatever it may be, to become the most charming guy. And the reality is, any guy that's
a damn lie. That's a fucking lie.
Extremely charming and good looking, etc., more than likely has a high body count, and he got it through experience, through trials and tribulations. My thing is, most guys are not going to disclose, I had 300 bodies. But what I'm saying is that
the idea that most guys who are charming became charming by racking up 300 bodies, I don't think I've ever met a man, at least we didn't talk about it, that has 300 bodies. The most charming, good looking, highly educated motherfucker I ever knew had like 55. I'm not going to tell you what my body count is, but he had like 55, and he was like 25, 26. So the idea that by the time you reach a certain age, you need to have a certain body count in order to become charming, like, bro, how many women have you fucked and you're still not charming?
If a woman's with a man that she loves and admires and respects, and they're about to get married, right, and he proposes to her, and then they go on their honeymoon, and she finds out the day before their wedding he had sex with 300 women, she's probably not going to call off the wedding. However, let's reverse it. If the guy goes ahead and gets finds out his wife had 300 bodies the day before their wedding, he's calling off that wedding.
How can you really make an assumption like that? Like, what kind of weird hypothetical is that? And secondly, bro, if you call off a wedding because you just found out that your fiance has fucked 300 guys, maybe that says something about you and how insecure you are, and that you don't think you could stack up to any of those men she's fucked.
Because men have a way larger vested interest in a woman's past from a promiscuity standpoint. And that's one of the double standards, one of the few double standards that doesn't benefit women.
Wait,
men and women are not the same when it comes to sexual past. Sorry, go ahead.
So how do you care about a woman being good in bed at all?
That's to be honest. Do
you think a woman that has had more experience is good in bed better?
I would argue
someone that hasn't had any experience at all.
I would argue most of the guys here and most men in general will take a girl
back on another double standard. The point that she's trying to make is, why is it good for guys to have experience in the bedroom but bad for women to have experience? You know, you're saying that women want a guy who could like fuck them well because they're experienced, but on the other side of the spectrum, men don't want women that could fuck them well because they have experience, even though experience theoretically helps you become better at fucking.
That's less experience with a lower body count and teacher over a girl that's extremely experienced and want to wife her. Now when it comes to, and I want to make this very clear too, ladies, there's two hats that men wear when they're dealing with women. There's a relationship hat and then there's a sex only hat. When it comes to relationship hat,
women have those same hats, bro. You talking about it like that shit doesn't apply across the spectrum. There are certain women out there that as soon as they make it up in your mind that they just want to fuck you, then they're gonna fuck you, and that's all it's gonna be. And those same women can point out a different guy and be like, he's relationship material, he's boyfriend material.
So fuck what her experience is. You would prefer it'd be less experience and I teach her, versus when it comes to sex only, cool, I want her experience up there because I'm not gonna wife her. But
wait, can I ask why?
Was that?
Sorry. Can I ask why?
It's not that hard. Just don't use your teeth.
Why do
you want to teach a man?
What's the specific question?
No. Why do you not want to have someone that's had
that's
more
such a stupid fucking claim that a woman doesn't want to teach a man. Like, what are you talking about, dude? How the fuck are you supposed to learn about your partner and understand their wants, their needs, and desires without them teaching you? How does that work, bro? Are you supposed to just know telepathically what your woman wants? Because what your woman wants is going to be different from what another woman wants. And part of the issue is that men and women aren't communicating clearly or effectively enough about their wants and needs. And they aren't teaching each other. That's the issue.
Women want to teach a man.
What's the specific question?
No. Why do you not want to have someone that's had more relationships in the past or more experience sexually? Why do you not want to date them?
Because it damages your brain by the time it gets to that point.
Pair bonding, it's like, for example, you've been through like four relationships, right? Where, for example, like it was bad to you, they mistreated you, treated you like crap. And then you meet me, you're like, you know what? I have trust issues because the guy from the past might be the guy in the future. So we're just saying, less baggage, the better.
You just demonstrated how important it is for a woman to teach a man in order for him to make sure that she's satisfied in the relationship.
Might be the guy in the future. So we're just saying, less baggage, the better.
He gave the example.
Guys can have baggage too, though, right?
Yeah, but men don't bring baggage up. As a man, it is your
responsibility. Men don't bring baggage up. I've heard stories about pieces of shit men telling their women who they're in relationships with currently that he doesn't like the fact that her ass isn't as fat as his ex's. That's baggage, bro. I also know stories about men who have been cheated on that move on, get into a new relationship, and all of a sudden they're paranoid that their current partner is going to do what their ex did to them. So they start going through their phone. They start policing what their woman wears out in public. It might sound crazy, but I don't think these guys have real world experience. This reminds me of like the university setting where everything sounds good in theory. And this is a theoretical discussion, but I do not believe that it is rooted in any sort of practice.
Responsibility as a man to not complain. You don't complain as a man. You don't sit here and be like, I'm depressed. Men don't do that. Real men do not do that.
Real men end up dying 10 years earlier than they're supposed to because they're keeping everything in instead of communicating their feelings.
Men don't do that. Real men do not do that. That sounds you're not bringing up your baggage.
You don't know what a real man is, bro. If you were in a room with a real man, you wouldn't know because you're not built like that. Like it's clear to me that he has never had a strong male role model in his life.
The problem, right, for the girls that are saying like, I don't want to ask about the past. Past behavior predicts future behavior.
Yeah, but
so
we're talking
of course
about
you want to know about their past.
Y'all don't care.
Yeah, but
women don't care.
Men don't like to talk about it.
You're not speaking for us, bro. You're not speaking for me.
Women do not care about your feelings. They don't care about if you cry today. They don't want. As a matter of fact, that turns them off.
If that's your philosophy, bro, you put yourself in a position to attract toxic women into your life. And that's not their fault. That's your fault. You need to get your shit together. You need to figure out why you keep attracting women that don't care about your feelings. Don't put that on all women just because you're in the midst of your villain arc because somebody fucked you over. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because what happens is people like you start taking out your anger and your bitterness on unsuspecting women, and you turn them into the same toxic women who turn right back around and hurt the next man. So you're perpetuating this cycle of abuse based on your beliefs.
As far as like why is that it?
Wait, can I ask another one then?
I was gonna answer the first one, but
yeah, go for it.
No,
it's fine. Go for it.
You sure?
I'll just ask.
Okay, because the what you asked was like, why does a woman's past matter? It comes from a biological standpoint. Like men are interested in making sure that the kid is theirs. So men have a deep rooted, biological urge to know that their girl isn't promiscuous because they need to be able to ensure paternity. Now, before all you guys say, well, what about there's birth control and there's paternity tests, whatever. Yes, I get that. These are minor conveniences. However, men are still biologically hardwired to want a woman that has a low body count, preferably no body count, because...
Why are you lying like that? What study says men are biologically hardwired to want a woman who has a low body count? Why are you fucking lying to your audience? What evidence do you have to support that besides your own anecdotal observations, man? If you look at indigenous societies that lived in ancient Mesopotamia, the Tainos, the Arawaks, bro, one of the reasons why they were so happy was that they lived in a society that consisted of open relationships where people would be able to come and go from relationships without any hard feelings. I think one of the reasons why men and women don't get along in the West is because we're obsessed with this notion of monogamy, which there's nothing inherently wrong with monogamy if you find somebody that you really vibe with. But I don't understand this biological argument. You're not making this claim as a biologist. You're not making this claim as a professional archaeologist. Like, what gives you the authority or the empirical knowledge to make these kinds of broad claims and make it sound like it's inherent to the human species, biologically hardwired? There are very few things that are biologically hardwired to affect people's personality and emotions. Obviously, he's not including this nuance because he wants to say shock value shit that reaffirms the shitty beliefs that some men have about women and overinflated views they have about themselves.
There's a reason why virgins have been valued since the beginning of time, because you knew the kid was yours, right? Okay. Just like, even though we live in modern day times now, women still want a guy that's over 6 feet tall.
Okay, let's say that you meet someone that hasn't had sex for a whole year, but like the year before that they had sex with like 50 people.
Yeah.
You know that there's not going to be a kid that came out of that, course. Right? But so what is the problem with someone that might have not even dated like romantically and just like hooked up with like 50 people? So like, what is your problem with that in that case?
Because men, here's the thing. I'll keep it very simple. I boil it down to one sentence. Women are interested in a man's future. Men are interested in a woman's past. We're very different. We look at opposite things when we deal with...
Why do you keep saying this shit like it's like God's word? The way he frames his opinions are like so absolute, like it's God's word, And if there's one pet peeve of mine, as you can tell because I'm triggered, it's when someone states their opinion as if it's absolute fact with no authority or expertise to support it. It's like, dude, this is misinformation that you're putting out. Like, this is really harmful to people's relationship dynamics, because the issue with what you're saying is that men will believe this shit and they're going to use it as justification to be shitty to women. And I know that, some people in the comments might call me a simp. It's expected. But if this was the Call Me Daddy podcast where women were giving shitty takes on men, I would have the same critiques, but in the opposite direction. I'm just responding to what I'm hearing from these particular individuals at this particular moment in time.
It is what it is. I don't make the rules. I just report
So what
them.
is the problem? Like, is if there was only sexual interactions that was non-romantic with a woman with other men? Can I touch on that?
Because men don't want women that have had a lot of partners. We're just hardwired to not look for that. Just like you're
hardwired. Keep saying that, bro. That's a fucking, you don't know that.
Wired to want a man who's stronger and taller than you for protection reasons, to enable your security.
I think I'm stronger than them.
You have to remember, bro, we're not living in the Stone Ages anymore. Women prioritize other things besides height, strength, and income. And for you to just narrow everything into those categories is misleading.
Reasons to enable your security.
I think I'm stronger than them.
Absolutely not.
Here's the thing. You gotta remember that based on your answers, you're an exception to the rule for most women. Like you've given different answers, and you might be different. You're an exception to the rule. But what I'm arguing is that women look for certain traits in men. They look for, security features.
Yeah, but the question should be, why are they an exception? Because they might be able to teach us something about being more open-minded, especially if they're in a happy, committed, and healthy relationship.
But what I'm arguing is that women look for certain traits in men. They look for, security features. Men look for replication features. And when it comes to replication, a big part of that replication is I want to make sure that I breed with someone that hasn't breeded with a bunch of men so that I can ensure the children are mine. It's a hardwired trait.
Hold on, real quick, because the coach has been waiting for a while.
They had something?
Ladies on the couch. Come on, man.
Yes, I know.
No, he told me. Ladies on the couch. How do you feel about this?
Okay, so...
Can your man cheat? Would you be happy? Yes or no?
No, I mean, obviously, no. I'm gonna say no, but I mean, I don't know, guys. I have a lot of emotion on it. I don't know.
See, and this is the issue with bringing random women to the show, is that they're not, I would imagine they don't make a living off of conjuring up these kinds of arguments. And so when you bring them onto a show like this, unless they make a living doing a podcast talking about gender dynamics and relationships, they're going to be caught looking like a deer in the headlights. That's not to say that they're stupid or that they're uninformed. They might be, but it is to say Fresh and Fit do this shit 24/7. So they're creating an unfair scenario whereby I would imagine the women who come on this show are caught off guard, because you have Fresh and Fit rambling nonstop about all these weird theories that conflict with these girls' worldviews, but they're just struggling to keep up. And I would imagine the consequences to that are these girls unfortunately set themselves up to look like idiots, which reinforces the audience's beliefs that most women are idiots. Most women are idiots because that's what Fresh and Fit teach them. So the whole dynamic right now is just off.
For me personally, if you're gonna cheat, it's a way of like running away from something that's inside. Like you're running from something personally. If it's not like you said, like in the cards, like y'all's relationship is a different story. Like y'all do y'all's thing. You have like what you respect out of each other. It is what it is. But if I'm going to look for somebody else to make myself feel better, I feel like it's just a scream out of like, I'm running from something. I need something filled. I can't get it from the person I'm with. I can't get it for myself. Therefore, I'm going to keep searching until I find what brings me happiness, because I can't bring it to myself yet. You haven't healed. Therefore,
a very sound explanation for why people cheat, that they're running from something. They're running from their partner and they're running from themselves, and that they have this unsatiable void that they're struggling to fill.
Before you're finding somebody to heal you.
I disagree. I said it earlier. A man's thirst for sex is insatiable and one woman can't satisfy it. It's not about being healed or any of that.
True,
men always.
Then how do you explain men who never cheat on their spouse? Because there are plenty of men out there like that. You trying to make it sound like every man is a fucking cheater and every man wants to go around fucking 10 other women. Bro, I'm not like that. Shit, I get anxiety when I'm dating multiple women at the same time. That shit gives me anxiety because it's too much to keep up with. And I don't have the bandwidth to be doing that, especially if I'm focusing on advancing my career and accumulating the capital needed to retire at an early age. That's a headache, bro. And I don't know, maybe you pay for women and that gets rid of part of the headache because you don't have to deal with the emotional friction. But anybody who's a player, like in real life, will tell you that it's a fucking headache to be fucking with multiple women romantically and sexually. Now, some guys think that headache is worth it. Some guys don't. I don't think it's worth it.
Different girls. That's what it is. And I think
so forever.
Like, yes,
ladies saying this shit so definitively at the end of every sentence. These are the rules. That's what it is. I don't make the facts. I'm just reporting them. Bro, you're a fucking snake.
I will keep it 1,000 with y'all. You are never, ever going to be enough for your man from a sexual standpoint. Man.
And what y'all want to be careful of is people who use the word never and always, okay? That's something that you're going to learn in your Logic 101 class, wherever it's taught. You want to be careful talking to people who use terms like always and never, because rarely is anything always or never.
That want variety too, for sure. But when if we're going to line up 100 men, 99 of them are going to want variety. If we line up 100 women, probably 10 of them are going to want variety. That's the difference. Men want sexual variety.
Wild, so in your idea, would you say, how do you feel about the whole like one woman can change a man? Is that like 100% a no-go for you?
100% can.
You got
really? Okay.
You got to remember.
From where I'm sitting, it looks like women have changed you because all your mannerisms, all your moves, the cadence of your voice sounds like it's tailored to attracting a specific type of woman. I don't even know if this guy has an identity that goes beyond his urge to attract women. And I'm not saying that to sound like an asshole. I'm just saying that to make a point, which is all 4 men in this room, out of all these 4 men, 3 of them seem very unhappy to me.
Just because a man has sex with another girl, it's not a big deal. It really isn't. Like, it's just sex for men. For you guys, it's a big deal, which is why it's so difficult for women to understand it.
My brother always said that. He would be like, all right, so guys cheat because they need to have sex. Whereas it's fucked up when women cheat because at that point they're emotionally involved. Like, my brother always said that.
He watched the show.
Going back to the couch, did you have something? Sorry, go ahead. And I think some of the ladies need some water, ladies, so in the back. So go ahead.
No, I think I'm
So I feel like I've had a lot of points that I've kind of
same.
Lost throughout it. But you said earlier, like I think you said the man should always you said the woman should like the man more. What did you say?
Yeah, basically I said the woman needs to like the guy more than he likes her.
Yeah, so in my experience, it's been like the complete opposite. 100%. And I think like that caters to your audience, what you're saying, but I think a man will actually change for a woman if he likes her more.
I agree.
Absolutely.
So question for you. You said that you think it works when the guy likes the girl more?
Yes.
You think it works? Okay, so in all your relationships, did the guy like you more than you liked him?
In some of them, yeah.
Okay, what happened with those guys?
She left.
I broke up with her.
Exactly.
Yeah, but the idea that it was because they liked her more than she liked them doesn't really compute, right? People break up for a variety of reasons. And so to reduce it down to that in order to support your point seems pretty disingenuous to me.
Trying to establish, like, ladies, I don't want to be an asshole or anything like that, but women are very poor assessors of what actually arouses them. See, the thing is that women say, they don't. You guys don't really know what you're aroused by.
What a fucking coincidence that you know.
An asshole or anything like that, but
this is gaslighting 101. Whenever somebody tells you you don't know what truly makes you happy, you don't know what truly stimulates you, but I do. Chances are, again, they're trying to sell you something and they're trying to fucking gaslight you. And if you're weak-willed, weak-minded, and have a tendency to people please, then you might start second guessing yourself and you might agree with them.
Very poor assessors of what actually arouses them. See, the thing is that women say, you guys don't really know what you're aroused by. And if you guys want to call me an asshole, it's been scientifically proven that women don't know what they're aroused by. Okay, they did a study.
Science doesn't prove anything. It either supports or rejects a hypothesis. So the fact that he uses the term scientifically proven just shows that his familiarity with the scientific discipline matches my familiarity with how to raise a fucking goat on a homestead. I have no idea how to raise a goat on a homestead, and he has no fucking clue what science is, what it's for, or what it does.
Call me an asshole. It's been scientifically proven that women don't know what they're aroused by. okay, they did a study where they actually attached electrodes, okay, to a woman's genitals, and they also gave her a clicker, and they did the same thing for men. And what they found was, and the objective of the thing was, they showed both genders erotic images, okay, the men and the women. And what they had to do was they had to click on the button if they found what they saw erotic, okay? So with the men, it was very simple. You show them pictures of ladies, etc., girls kissing. They clicked the button, and the genitals, the electrodes on their genitals showed blood flow, means they got a boner. It matched up. So basically what they clicked on was what they were aroused by. With the women, though, it was very interesting. They showed them monkeys banging. They showed them a bunch of different erotic things. And the girls only clicked on the things that were politically correct. However, the genitals were...
Now you just lost me. They clicked on the things that were politically correct. You just lost me. Because that's like a gap in the study that you failed to include. There are a whole host of things I could say about this quote-unquote study that he's bringing up. 1, who are the authors? 2, where was the study published? 3, was it peer-reviewed? 4, when was it done? 5, what are the confounding variables? 6, has the study been replicated? 7, what are the counter-arguments to refute the study? 8, how generalizable is the study? 9, what's the sample size? 10, did the authors draw the same conclusions that you're drawing? This man is outside of his depth.
To have blood flow there, regardless of what was shown to them. So what does that mean? Well, short story, women don't know what they're aroused by. And typically they're only going to admit what they're aroused by when it's politically correct, because women have an incentive to not come off as sluts. So what I'm saying is that, to go back to what you were saying, Miss Reno, is that you say you think you like it when a guy likes you more.
Yeah, I think he has such a commanding presence, and that really helps him. That really helps him in these sorts of discussions, because people just shut down and let him go.
Because you're aroused when you like the guy more. Because what it does is it lets you know on very firm terms that guy is of higher value and higher status than yourself, and that is what women want. Women do not want an equal, regardless of what feminism says. They want a superior.
Can I ask you guys a question? Yeah. How much do you think that this is your difference in relationship ideas is because you're both, like you experiment a lot, you're both bi, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, but mainly women for me.
But how much do you think that depends on, how much do you think that factors into your relationship?
See, this dude, like, he's still making a little passive aggressive mannerisms like a woman. It wouldn't surprise me. I'm not going to go there.
Almost none.
None?
Yeah. For her, it's a really big deal because she sleeps with guys and girls. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just like, what?
That's a good pet peeve of mine, though. That disrespect, that little he, that little feminine shit. You trying to teach people about who a man is, what a man is, but you acting in very feminine ways right now. It does make me wonder, who was he raised by? Was he raised in a 1-parent or 2-parent household? Because people who have strong male role models do not carry themselves like he does.
Okay, real quick.
I mean, it's what they. I mean,
you got a point too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I
want to make sure the ladies on the
question. Do you think just my age, I'm very young, but do you think if we were more open, if we had that opportunity to...
Oh, girl, you're getting ready to ask a good faith question. You can't ask a good faith question to a motherfucker like this, because the conclusion of his answer is going to be the reinforcement of your oppression. Direct your question towards somebody like Destiny or something, because he seems to be the only fair-minded motherfucker on this panel. Well, Melina, I shouldn't say that, because these 3 women, they seem cool. The one from Philadelphia, I agree with her and disagree with her on certain points, but she means no harm. See, I just don't like the criteria and how they go around picking these women, because you already have this girl, before she could even get her question out, you could tell that she lacks confidence. She said, I'm young. Already you're invalidating your question, and what comes after that. 2, you're struggling to get your question out. 3, you're apologizing about moving the mic a little bit.
To be communicating with us that way.
Women can't handle the truth, that's why.
I mean, I think I can. I would love to experience it.
I mean, think about it. I just mentioned earlier how men can be open and women can't. And there was a bunch of like, what's going on here? Blah, blah, blah. I disagree with that.
You see how his answer was like real bad faith? Women can't handle. Women are incapable. Women are not able to. Do you see the pattern here?
Guys can't be honest with women about this stuff, because if they do, they're labeled misogynist assholes, jerks.
Do you think, bro, it's not honesty. You're injecting a very bitter and visceral opinion into the world based on your personal experiences, and then framing it as honesty. Okay, it's honesty to you, bro, but there's a difference between honesty and fact. I'm honest about why I don't like Fresh and Fit, but that doesn't make everything that I'm saying fact. It's coming from an honest place. It's what I truly believe, but I have my own blind spots. I could be wrong. But see, where these motherfuckers are getting tripped up Fresh and Fit is that they don't have the capacity to admit that they could be wrong, because that's not what their audience wants to hear. People go to the internet, people go to these influencers to hear the most extreme viewpoints. They want to absorb the confidence that they don't have in themselves. So if Fresh and Fit were to start working in caveats and nuance into their claims, they wouldn't be as famous, they wouldn't be as wealthy, they wouldn't be as influential as they are. So when you're watching these influencers, even when you're watching me, a small YouTube creator, you got to ask yourself, what is he being incentivized to do? What information is he being incentivized to give us? And how could I surmise about the way in which that affects his presentation? Right? Right now, I'm not being incentivized by shit because I'm not getting paid to do any of this. I'm doing it just off the cuff because I feel like this is a moral obligation I have to do these reactions and, you know, counter some extreme viewpoints and share opinions that come from like the everyday man. You know what I'm saying? I'm not involved in this world. Bro, and even if my YouTube channel did grow exponentially, I don't believe I would ever, I don't know if I would collaborate with any of these motherfuckers, even Destiny. I don't know if I would collaborate with any of these folks, because it sounds like once you start doing these collaborations, once you start interacting with people in this world, this social media world, you know, your views get warped, your brain changes. I don't want that to happen to me. You know, I don't want my viewpoint to be limited to what's happening in Miami or what's happening in Hollywood. I don't give a fuck about them people. Them people, shit, I mean, shout out to them, but these people's presentation is not a microcosm of what is going on in reality. But the issue is their online presence is growing so much that it's starting to blend. You know what I'm saying? So you got people out in the real world because they was reading 4chan, because they was on Reddit too much, because they was watching these influencers like Fresh and Fit or Andrew Tate. If you leave this video with nothing else, leave it with this. Learn how to distinguish between perception and reality, and learn how to check yourself, and learn how to pause your emotions to understand how you feel. Then you could hit resume. But once you start framing your beliefs and ideologies off of your emotions, particularly off of bad emotions, that's gonna fuck up your perception of reality to the extent that you're gonna start fucking up your own reality. You see what I'm saying? Because it all starts with words. Words affect beliefs. Beliefs affect actions. Actions lead to certain consequences. So understand that if you're listening to toxic shit, if you're listening to negativity, that's gonna affect how you feel and what you believe. And what you feel and what you believe is gonna start affecting actions. And your actions are gonna lead to outcomes. It's either gonna be a positive outcome or it's gonna be a negative outcome. You keep listening to negative shit like this, it only makes sense that the beliefs that follow are gonna be negative, that the behavior is gonna be negative, and that the outcome is gonna be negative. You might think it feels good when you're listening to red pill shit, because they say they be on the money sometimes. They do talk about some unfair double standards between men and women, and how society sets unreasonable expectations for men to be wealthy, attractive, smart, funny, and charismatic, and how there are women out there who will look past you because you don't make a certain amount of money or you aren't over 6 feet tall. I've seen that shit on my Tinder before when I had it. Women saying swipe left if you're under 6 foot. I've seen that shit and I'm like, girl, I'm 5'11". I could lie to you and tell you that I'm 6 feet, but you know what? I don't want anything to do with you because I could tell what type of woman you are, so I swipe left. There are women out there who are damaged and will play mind games and will use you to satisfy their selfish desires. There are women out there like this. Yeah. There are women out there who make false allegations about abuse and sexual harassment. Those women are out there. It is true that during divorces, men tend to get the short end of the stick. And it's also true that within the past decade, men have been villainized and demonized and put into the same category as the worst among us. Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, Bill Cosby. And based on those truths, we do have to move different. We do have to move carefully. We do have to make sure that we're looking out for ourselves and that we're understanding our worth. But that doesn't mean that we gotta dog out women and create these fictitious narratives about all women are this or most women are that. Bro, women are different, man. There are women who ain't shit, bro. I've been in relationships with them. Come on now. And what did I do? I had to reassess some things. And I had periods throughout my life where I was on one stream or the other, where I hated myself for letting these women come into my life, where I hated myself for putting up with their shit. And that's not good. That self-blame shit isn't good. But on the other side of the spectrum, there were times where I did generalize the way these stupid motherfuckers are generalizing. And I was on that women ain't shit type of time. But then I realized that there's a middle ground, right? There's a way to hold yourself accountable without victim blaming. Just like there's a way to hold women accountable without demonizing them. Or if you're going to demonize them, try not to do that to all women, you know, because they don't deserve that. And then we also got to be honest about the role we might have played in relationships, or the impact we might have had on a woman's psyche or self-esteem, and how that could be rooted in our trauma. Maybe our mother didn't love us enough. Maybe she didn't hug us enough. Maybe she didn't spend enough time with us. And maybe when we see women who are cold and callous and emotionally unavailable, we see our mothers in them. And so we hate them the way that we secretly hate our mothers. Right? Because there's a lot of that going on. Everybody's not fit to be a parent. In fact, I would argue that most people are not, because we got too much unresolved trauma. We got too much emotional baggage that we have not checked. We think we living good because we got a job or we going to school and we have a friend group. But in all reality, in the same way that, you know, leaves get stuck in a gutter and they got to get cleaned out, there's a lot of gunk up here that you got to work out. And it's not your fault if you have mental issues. It's not your fault if you're angry or bitter or jealous or possessive, right? But it's your responsibility to get that shit under control. It's not your fault if you were wronged by a woman, if you were cheated on, if you were played, if you were manipulated, if you were used. That's not your fault. That's her fault. But whatever emotional residue you have from that relationship, you got to work that shit out by yourself, bro. Nobody's going to help you with that unless you seek help. And that's why I took it personal when MJ said, men don't talk about their feelings, women don't care, men are not supposed to talk about their feelings. No, man. We're supposed to talk about our feelings with the right people, with people who care about us, with people who have proven to us that they're dependable, that they're reliable. But you got to open yourself up for that. And that comes with risk. Yeah, that comes with vulnerability. But the payoff can be so great once you invite people who are willing to help into your life to help you make those changes, because they're not going to make it for you. You know, that's your work to do. You got to do the legwork, but you can have the support. Just don't think you're going to get it from channels like this.
You're saying that you don't want to become the Leonardo DiCaprio type.
I don't, because that's not the type of woman I'm generally looking for. But if you're with a woman who's okay with it being one-sided open, I feel like that's what your everything starts. And then also with people, because you guys always talk about,
I don't understand what type of woman you're talking about.
The type of woman that will let you step out, that you have a lot of leverage over.
So what do you think about those type of those types?
I'm not here to pass judgment. People can live their lives.
No, I want to hear what you think.
No, I don't care. It's all good. But because you guys are pushing it as though that should be the normal, or we use like the weird, like the chimpanzee experience, because we say it should be normal.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. You see,
the average guy can't do it. We know this.
No, I understand, but that's why I'm saying for people that are dating roughly, because most people date within their league, right?
Yeah.
Most people
that's making average money that doesn't have any
most men and women are dating within their league.
All right, so if women aren't dating in their league, then who are they dating outside of their league? Right? It's not every day that you find a woman who is average looking, who has an average job and an average personality, who finds a man that's a millionaire and has a charisma of Leonardo DiCaprio. That usually doesn't happen. People in general date within their league, right? Rich people run in the same circles as rich people. Life isn't a Cinderella story where a woman who's working maintenance at a hotel is going to get swept up by Prince Charming. Like that's just not reality. Maybe it's reality if you live in Miami, but I have no idea about the culture here. All I can say is so far, I don't think it's a microcosm of society at large.
I mean, okay, they are. That's the definition of a league.
Men, well, they can though.
Yeah. Sure, men, they can, but most people are dating roughly within their league. So because when you guys ask,
well, I mean, it depends on what we mean by in our league, because I'm a good looking guy, but I've been with women who are way better looking than me, according to me. I mean, you know, it's all subjective at the end of the day, but I've been with women who are better looking than me, who make more money than me, who are way funnier or smarter. Their take on gender dynamics and relationships is just so rigid.
Because think about it, the girl that's like not working a job at Target or at least Target is getting hired by you guys that are like successful.
Yeah, I'd argue women. Hold on, no, she's not.
She's getting hired by an assistant manager who's making $10,000 more than her.
Yes.
No, she's not.
Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, like, dude, there could be.
I'm sorry, hold on. For the men on this podcast, who would date a woman working at Target?
I would.
They would.
Bullshit. That's you guys are cool.
The idea that you're looking at girls making $7.25 an hour, like, bro, come on now. Y'all don't even run in the same circles as those chicks. They probably run in the type of circles where every woman they run into has a lip job or a boob job because fake people attract fake people.
Not that I've seen from anyone.
My last girl was at Chick-fil-A.
How long ago did you date?
Like 2 years ago.
I don't.
Wait, you talk a lot about
you guys started this podcast like 2 years ago.
You talk a lot about finances and status and stuff like that. That seems really biased that you're looking down on people who work these jobs.
It's not about looking down.
Call it superficial. If you want to date a young
woman, it's not about looking down, bro. You're not gonna see rich people hanging out with poor people or poor people hanging out with rich people. Folks usually date within their socioeconomic range. It ain't about looking down.
But what's wrong with Chick-fil-A?
Hold on.
You talk so much about materialistic and about how money's the only thing.
Stop doing that, bro. You being bad faith right now. He's trying to explain to you exactly what he means, and you just keep doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on this assumption that he's looking down on poor people when the point he's trying to make is a point that I just made, but you're not letting him get it out of his mouth.
But then you go,
that's a young man's energy, okay? Listen, it's not about looking down on people. The data.
No, it's not that you don't want to be old, bro. You don't want to be mature. There's a difference between being childlike and childish. You're childish. There's nothing wrong with being childlike. To be childlike is to have the energy of a young person, to have a sense of awe and curiosity about the world, to not take yourself so serious. To be childish is to be mature, somebody who never wants to grow up, somebody who's not good with handling responsibility. And folks could laugh like this girl is grinning like SNEAKO just roasted him, but personally, I do not believe that's what's happening right now. I feel like Destiny is engaging in higher order thinking that these people can't wrap their heads around. And so the points that he's trying to make is going over their head because it's like a grown-ass adult talking to a room full of 5-year-olds about the complexities of life.
You're looking down on them.
I'm not looking down on
them. That's exactly what you just said, like, oh my god, you guys would date a Pizza Hut girl?
He's pointing at the reality.
No, hold on.
Do all that dramatic shit.
There's a lot of coke going on right now. If you guys brought in a successful man and he walked in and his woman was wearing a McDonald's outfit, all of you would be wondering what the f is going on. No matter how hot that woman is, all of you guys would be looking at the guy like, I don't know what's going on here.
Not really. The reality successful? I mean, that's the same question. If your girl had nothing going for herself, for the most part, would you date her? What did they say? Yes, they don't care.
That's called a code. That's a code. No, you don't think men code like women do? That's absolutely right.
I mean, that's the
opposite. The reality is that here's the reality. Here's the real red pill, I guess, if you guys haven't had it yet. Okay, people are dating. People are dating within their league. Celebrities date celebrities.
You don't have the female idea of relationships. We don't think about leagues.
You absolutely do.
No, I don't.
It just blows me away how these people are questioning fundamental truths about how human beings exist in Western society. This is shit that like is common sense for everybody outside of the room, but it just seems like the people inside of it live in an entirely different universe. It's wild. And I don't think they're being disingenuous. I believe that they believe everything that they're saying. It just doesn't reflect my experience whatsoever.
I want to be with the woman that's nice. That's cool.
You want to pick up women on this podcast because you're around the women on this podcast. That's what's happening.
Wait, I just saw a video that Destiny dropped yesterday with SNEAKO where they went to dinner and I saw a little snippet and he said that his girlfriend has a master's in data science and that she works in New York City as a quantitative researcher for a bank. So the idea that he would get with a girl who's working at Target when his girl is making well over 6 figures seems contradictory to the way he actually lives his life.
I'm got women everywhere.
Sure, but I'm saying generally it's going to be people in your date. That's generally people you're dating. That's generally people that get married. That's why celebrities date celebrities. YouTubers date YouTubers.
In his league just because we're on this podcast?
No, yeah, well, you're in the same area. You guys are like doing the same type of shit.
You're making me sound like a feminist now.
That's reality. There's people generally.
I'll say this. We've brought many successful multimillionaires on, whether they're in the music industry, actors, comedians, whatever it may be. And I will say, resounding, almost all of them. I think you're the only millionaire that came on that cared about a woman's income. Every other guy.
He's not saying he cares about the income, bro. He's just telling you a fundamental truth that exists outside of your bubble. I'm getting so annoyed by how in bad faith they're twisting and distorting the lessons that he's trying to convey on this podcast
whatsoever. And what I've come to realize is that as men make more money, they're more and more tolerant of a woman not making money. Facts. But the less money they make, typically, the more they want the girl to contribute and chip in.
Yes.
So
not money. So I'm not talking about. Yeah, I'm not talking about money. He's looking for a woman making a lot of money. What I'm saying is that he probably wants a woman that's got her shit together and like doing stuff.
You're talking about general population.
Yeah, like I would be, or maybe it is. And if it is, that's a lot sadder for the men than anything else. If you're a multimillionaire guy and you're dating a woman because she's hot on Instagram, that says more about your life than anything else.
But that's what I'm trying to say is that these
so if you're a multimillionaire and you got a woman who doesn't make a lot of money, she's probably like running a nonprofit, doing shit for your business. She's out like communicating. She's doing shit. Yeah. She's not just like a random person that works at Chick-fil-A or whatever.
You just said that was in his league for.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm confused about.
When I say in league, I mean like you're roughly in the same areas working on the same shit. So everybody, well, at least for you guys.
I wouldn't even say so. Like we all came on this show because we all wanted to express our personal opinions, and I think that every woman on this panel can agree that just because we don't personally want a man like that, we can agree that women and men are different in every aspect. So I do not want a man that steps out on me, right?
She's causing me to have a brain aneurysm. What is she talking about? What is she talking about? She doesn't necessarily want a man who's a millionaire, and that men and women are different in every single respect. Is that what she just...
We can agree that women and men are different in every aspect. So I do not want a man that steps out on me, right? Because that's me personally. But I do have the ability to think logically that men think with their dick and women think with their head.
Do you want a man who's similarly attractive to you? Huh? Do you want a man, like you're gorgeous, right? Do you want a guy who's similarly attractive to you? Like around the range, absolutely. Like within 3 points probably.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
But I also
do you want a guy who's probably got some similar values? Like what are some values? Family?
You're literally proving my point here.
No, I'm proving Steven's point.
My point is that women... we can have our own opinions, but you have to think like universally. Like I understand where they're coming from. Now, would I put up with what they're saying?
Talking about thinking universally, you just spent that entire spiel talking about your preferences and saying this is just me personally. So what are you? I get the sense that old girl is talking just to talk.
Saying no.
Well, most of them said they wouldn't do that one side of a relationship.
There was a couple. There was like a multi-pronged thing here because there were so many different threads of conversation. So the first thing was men caring about women's income. We found resoundingly, we brought billionaires on, multimillionaires, they don't care. Yeah. The second thing is you mentioned, example point, I saw someone else had their hand.
We have 21K watching, only 8.4K likes. Come on, guys.
Like the goddamn video. This is a very good discussion.
15K. So I guess what I'm saying to you is essentially like Steven is saying we broadly date within our leagues, right? For the most part.
That's what it was.
So if
women date outside of their leagues, that's what I was going to say. Women date. I'll explain. I'll explain real quick. I'll explain.
I'll tell you when you're wrong.
So okay, sure. So they found studies, right, that women that are average looking get far more messages, like pretty much the same amount, if not more messages than guys that are in the top 1% of attractive looks. So what I'm saying is that with the emergence of social media, online dating apps, how the world is interconnected in general, women that are average looking have access to extremely high status men. And not only that, these high status men talk to these girls. So what happens is...
but in what context? Are they talking to them to date them or to fuck them or to make them long-term partners? You got to be able to distinguish between these variables, bro.
Girls no longer look at their localized dating marketplace. They're looking elsewhere because now with planes, the internet, etc., women are able to date way above their league.
How many guys are dating women way below their league, though? Like, if you're a guy and you've got the pick of the litter, why would you pick a mid girl? You would fuck a mid girl on Tinder, and this is why I don't like the matches on dating apps, because you can fuck a lot if you're a top 1% guy, but you're not gonna date every random fucking girl that you can.
Hold on. I got my rebuttal to that. Here's the problem: when girls are able to fuck a certain caliber of guy, a lot of girls attribute their self-worth to that caliber of guy and think I can also retain a guy on this level.
Exactly.
That's what I'm trying to say. So they get access to these guys, they get flown out by these guys, they have sex with these guys, and then they think, you know what? I can get this kind of guy. And this is why so many women are delusional, quite frankly, with all the...
Okay, bro, you going off on a fucking tangent. Let's get back to the point. Come on, man. Get to the point.
Respect as to where their value stands, because they conflate their sexual market value attraction with their relationship market value attraction. I pulled a guy that was an NBA player. I dated a rapper. I had sex and got flew out by an actor, but they think they can actually retain that guy. And that's what happens is because it's very difficult for women once they experience a certain type of lifestyle to regress.
I agree with everything you're saying, but that's because it's completely at odds with what you just said, though. A woman can fuck way above her league.
Absolutely.
But she can't date above her league. Because people generally date within their league.
I agree, but she doesn't know that. That's what I'm trying to say.
She might not know, but she's not dating outside of her league. But people are roughly dating. Now, there might be more single, miserable women because they have an overinflated sense of ego because too many guys are liking their Instagram.
And that's what I'm saying.
But they're still not dating outside of the league. Generally, we date within our leagues.
But here's the thing. Girls will sit there, have sex with a guy 3-4 times and say, I'm dating him, to cope with the fact that the guy only uses them as sex and they think that they're going to get something more. Because what does that guy do? He dangles a fucking carrot. Lifestyle. Oh yeah, you're. I totally like you. You're so cool. I like your vibe. But in reality, he's having sex with.
What's your point, bro? What's your fucking point? What's your point?
5-10 other girls.
Sure, yeah,
she kind of knows it, but she's kind of wants to be aloof to it because she's like, I'm with this kind of guy. And here's the thing. This might be controversial, but this is what I mean when I say girls will share a loser willingly over being with a they'll share a winner willingly versus being with a loser all to themselves
until she turns 28, 29, 30,
and that's when she starts to look at guys that are a little bit more also nice guys. She starts to give them a chance. But what I'm saying is that with Instagram, Tinder, dating apps, etc., a lot of women have an overinflated sense of self-worth. They've dated a rapper before. I guarantee every single girl at this table probably has met a celebrity, been invited to some kind of celebrity situation, and or maybe been hit on by a guy of way higher status than themselves or dated a millionaire. Ask the guys here. We're not going to get opportunities like that unless we become a somebody. So what I'm saying is that a lot of girls conflate their self-worth to that type of guy and think they can actually attract that guy, which is why so many women are delusional. I brought women on this panel and asked them, what kind of guy do you want? Every single time, 9 out of 10 times, I want a guy that's 6 foot plus, $100,000 a year, attractive in shape, etc. And they think that these guys are walking around all over the place.
And it's fine.
But they don't realize that guy's less than 1% of the population.
That contradicts the point that you made earlier, which was that women are able to access these guys no problem.
Why do they have this skewed perception of reality? It's because they deal with these guys all the time. These guys hit them up all the time. And they have an unreal perception about how rare these guys actually are, is what I've come to realize. A lot of girls, quite frankly, are very, very delusional as to what the average man is. When I tell them, the average man is actually 5'8" and makes about 40 to 50K per year. What? What are you talking about? That's a fucking lie. Not in my reality. I'm around high status guys all the time.
We're also in Miami too, though. Like that's
true.
Yeah. That is the case.
We've brought women.
We brought women that have come to Miami, though.
Yeah, but these girls are from all over.
Yeah, but the women that are going to Miami.
They go to Miami for reasons.
Right? Yeah.
They want.
You don't fly people out from different states.
Yeah, you're not flying women out from Iowa.
Yeah, you
from Des Moines.
No. But we brought girls from Iowa. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. Like, I don't think you guys understand. Instagram, dating apps, the internet has changed the game.
Yeah, but in Miami, the game is so much different than any of. Even in LA, it's not as crazy as this fucking place.
In Pennsylvania, Timbuktu, they're still on Instagram, bro. They get flown out. It doesn't matter where you are.
Let's be honest. What do young, attractive girls typically want to do? They want to go to the major cities.
Yes.
And when they go to the major cities, who's going to be there? Higher earning, higher status men. And a lot of girls will get on a date. I'm telling you, man, average girls.
Bro, he keeps doing these word games where he says a lot of girls, many girls, most girls. And it's like, how are you coming up with this most, all, always, never? Like, you're using this extreme terminology to artificially create a reality that coincides with your pre-existing worldview.
Easily can get a date with a multi-millionaire or a successful guy, and they'll think to themselves, this is the type of guy that I can retain. And the reality is they can't.
Yo, the landscape is, right? Imagine this. Girls that are in school, 22, 24, 25, right? They're hot, attractive, and they don't want to date guys that are on the same age. They want mature guys that are successful, have lifestyle. They get flown all the time too. I'm just saying, women normally date above their league. Go ahead.
So here's a question I have to you guys. Do you want to be in a committed relationship with these women?
Yes. That's in general, or do you mean?
The women that you're describing that basically think that because they can sleep with a really like high league man that they're dating or whatever. Are these the women that you typically, or what is the woman that the high value man wants?
Well, you wouldn't want to ask these guys because these guys are like top one. Everyone here is like,
no,
like what a normal guy wants.
What do you guys, what do the HVMs want? Like, what do high value men want in a woman as for like a wifey? What do you guys
Let me tell you something. Why that high value man would be okay with a girl that works at Target. Because she would be that ideal a lot easier than a girl who would like be posting bikini pics. I think somebody said that on IG. He would be like, you know what, Target, this chick is easier to be like, you know what, this is what I want. And that's
so she's easier to control is basically what you're trying to say. Get a low income woman who's struggling, which makes her inherently more vulnerable because you can control her easily. Don't try to speak in parables and syllogisms. Say what you want to say, my brother. Just admit that you're so weak as a man that you go for women that are easy to control.
It's not easy.
There's other people that would try to find that.
I think her being feminine, her actually understand, you know what? My man is a man. I'm going to play my role. I understand, you know what? This dynamic here that's going on. If I can listen to my man, he can lead me the right way, I'm cool with that. But most guys want that.
You probably want a woman who would invest in you. She's loyal,
that adds value to your life.
Right? They're fucking idiots. Ask them why none of them are in a long-term relationship. That's, a serious assumption there. But I'm assuming motherfuckers like this usually aren't around for very long. They talk all that shit about giving a woman safety and security, but they'll be the first ones to get up and get out.
Interested in,
don't
for
fuck
example,
up my peace. That's it. There you go. Fuck up my peace.
Right, she's going to want to support you in your endeavors.
Oh, that's a nice Twitter bar.
A value guy, you're some sort of entrepreneur, like you're making money somehow, which means you're probably intelligent, you're good at business, right? There's a bunch of things going for you that has made you be in this category. The reality is that, like, if all you want is like a woman who's attractive and replaceable, that's not a woman who's going to invest a lot into you. Typically,
and also intelligent, you're taking it a little too far.
The woman that you guys talk about, low body count, right? Decently intelligent, she's willing to support you, which I'm gonna be honest, whether we like it or not, most women are actually pretty willing to like fall into like pretty traditional gender like roles in relationships.
If they work at Target.
Well, I'll give myself as an example, but I don't think that I'm an enigma, right? I think in a lot of ways I have a very low body count. One, I've only slept with my husband, right?
Stop the cap.
I know. It's true. Well,
okay, go ahead.
The reason you have to believe is I came from fundy Christian land, right? And so like in my life, sex was the most shameful thing ever. And so this idea, so when I met my husband, he worked at a homeless shelter. He was a high school
This dude is just, he's just weird as hell. He's like a child in a grown man's body. It's just perplexing to see how he moves and how he carries himself, how he interjects in the conversation. His fascination with the hat. He reminds me of a child.
But I met him and he had like such incredible quality to him. I knew that he could be something more, and I was willing to invest in him. This is similar to like if you look at Jeff Bezos and his wife, she met him before he was rich. There's a lot of women who are willing to do that. They'll see a guy and they'll be like, he can be something.
I don't know if there are a lot of them, but they are out there. They are out there.
But also, too, you can't just do everything for them. They gotta like be willing to do that shit.
She's not talking about doing everything for them. She just said if you see potential in a man and you see he's in the process of trying to better his life and make a way for himself, and you think he has a good heart, then you might think it's worth investing in him. So I don't know how she got, well, I can't do everything for him. Like, how did you take that away from what she just said?
I helped some guys, and then they were still like just fucking losers.
Yeah.
And you're like,
they rely on you.
Yeah, it's like
I agree.
But
you have to find
I feel like that comment came from a place of pain. Without saying it, she basically said that those are the types of dudes that she's fucked with in the past.
She still wants money because the ambition and the future leads to the money. So regardless of the fact, she still wants a guy with money.
Sure, in a lot of these relationships, I do think that like a woman looks at a competent guy and does think that he can provide stability and whatnot. And I think that that's fine. I have no problem with women having that preference in a long-term relationship. What I'm saying is if you're this guy who provides all of these things, the woman that you're looking for, the dating strategy you're outlining isn't going to keep the women who are willing to invest in you, right? Women with pretty low body counts that are typically like doing something for themselves, they might be willing to fall in behind and support your business, but they're maybe going to school, they have some sort of goals, they exercise, they take pretty good care of themselves, they've got a healthy relationship with their family, they have friends. These women generally are not going to be comfortable with the idea of being replaceable, and I think it's going to derail your relationship.
But I think that your values are based on like women on this scale, and the things that you're saying that women value, men don't give a shit about.
A girl who takes care of herself, a girl who exercises, she got good mental health, she has a good relationship with her family, she's loyal, she values herself, she sees you for who you are and accepts who you are, regardless of how much money you make. But let me rephrase that. I would say that this girl is partially correct, because the dudes that she probably interacts with on a day-to-day basis probably have personalities and attitudes that are just as shitty as hers is.
Like women on this scale, scale, and the things that you're saying that women value, men don't give a shit about. Respectfully, you named a whole list of things that are very ethical from a woman's lens. Like, if a girl wanted to fuck a girl,
This is where I think men cope. This is where I think men cope all the time. We've already agreed on this panel. Men are killing themselves at a higher rate. They're depressed as fuck. They're addicted. They're homeless, and they're dominantly working really awful labor jobs.
Really risky jobs too. But nobody cares though.
Nobody cares about them. I agree.
That's not true. That's not true. People care, but you motherfuckers don't listen to the people who care. You go to people like Fresh and Fit who sell you snake oil and tell you to invest in the latest crypto scheme. So don't say nobody cares. Don't let that toxic masculinity shit kill you, because it will. You gotta sit down, have an honest conversation with yourself and say, you know what? I'm an angry motherfucker. I'm a selfish motherfucker. I don't really do right by people. I'm not a very good friend. I spend way too much time on the internet watching self-help videos. At some point, you gotta take responsibility for your mental health and your well-being. That doesn't mean you have to do it by yourself. It just means that you need to have an honest conversation with yourself. And once you become honest with yourself about who you are, where you're at, what you're capable of, and what you're willing to do in order to grow, the world is yours. But if you listen to these motherfuckers, they're gonna tell you, become a millionaire and that'll solve all your problems. Date a bad bitch and that'll solve all your problems. It kills me inside, because I know that so many of y'all are gonna wake up one day and realize that the shit you've been listening to, the shit you let them sell you, was a lie. And that makes me angry for you. Not because I hate Fresh and Fit. I don't hate those brothers, but I care for you. I care about you, because I have younger siblings and they gotta grow up in this world. And they need men they could look up to and emulate. Men with a strong moral compass. Men who are respectful, who have good etiquette, who know how to speak up and advocate for themselves and be assertive when the time comes, but ultimately trust themselves enough to know that you ain't gotta be an asshole all the time. You ain't gotta call people out their name. You don't have to go out of your way to shit on somebody unnecessarily. You don't have to blame the world for your problem. See, we need more men like that. There are plenty of males walking around in society, but there aren't enough men. See, there's a difference. There are plenty of fathers walking around in society, but there aren't enough dads. This shit is deeper than just whether you got a dick or not. It's about what kind of person do you want to be? How do you treat people? How do you treat yourself? I'll tell you one thing, people who respect themselves don't go out of their way to disrespect others. But these motherfuckers are constantly disrespecting people. And you know, I know somebody's gonna point out the contradiction. Well, Manny, aren't you disrespecting them by saying the things that you're saying in this video? Yeah, but I'm not doing this shit unprovoked. I'm doing this shit because based on what I've heard so far, I believe that they are net negative on society and on the next generation of impressionable young men.
I agree. But this is the issue, is that if we have a dating strategy that consistently repeats the idea of, I don't give a fuck about him, all I care about is his wallet, that's a terrible relationship.
See, but that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying for women is when they do invest that much time and emotion into a guy, they ultimately hold that as a leverage when they don't get what they want. And then it becomes toxic regardless. Anytime any woman that's ever invested that much in a guy and she sees him do something that she doesn't like, she holds that over him. And now it's toxic. Like, you invest that time to him and you don't feel like it's fair. You just don't feel. It's not even exact.
Just speak about your experience, because I'm getting the sense that they're doing something that people do all the time. They don't do it on purpose. They don't do it because they're bad people, but they will speak about their experience as if they're not the one that went through it. You see what I mean? And then you get into murky territory, because at the end of the day, you end up projecting your relationship onto everybody else's relationships. And then you become judgmental like her, because every time you see somebody else in a relationship, it triggers you and makes you think about your relationship history. But sometimes you got to be able to step outside of yourself and understand that it's not all about you. Because I could tell this girl has been through some shit, because she's given way too many details in these examples for them to be general examples of everybody else's relationship. Nah, she's talking about shit that she's been through. She's just not saying this is what I've been through. This is the hurt that's been inflicted on me. She's not saying that, because she has this like tough girl armor on, where she doesn't want to be vulnerable, she doesn't want to concede to soy point of views or whatever y'all call it. But at the end of the day, that shit ain't helpful. See, it's not going to help her heal, and it's not going to help the audience come away with anything. At this point, I'm actually starting to empathize with her. But with that said, I just hope that she finds a way to heal, because just listen to her. I could hear the fucking anger and the animus in her voice, but I could also hear the pain.
It's fair. You just don't feel. It's not even exact. Then you start holding like shit like, I'm not cooking, I'm not putting out, I'm not doing this. And the next thing you know, it goes toxic. So you're thinking you're putting in, investing into a guy as if that matters to him. They don't need, if a guy's making this much money, he doesn't give a fuck about your $20, your $50, your $100 if he's providing all the above.
You know what he does care about? That when he comes home, that you tell him that you love him. But when he falls asleep, he feels about again.
That's what I mean.
I want to be your dream, baby. I need to be your dream. I need you to be stalking me. I need you to be thinking about me.
Yeah,
I hope he's not fucking up.
So you brought up some good points here. You mentioned
you on that stupid shit now. You on that immature shit now. You fucked up a beautiful moment, bro. She was giving a mature account of what a healthy man wants from a woman, and you had to go off on I need you to stalk me. That's what I need, baby. I need you to cling on to me. You got the brain of a 13-year-old. Grow up.
Should that, women care about a man's wallet? That's a terrible thing. Okay, so this is a perfect example of operating in should, could, and would. The problem is I operate on what is. The reality is this.
No, don't say that. Don't say that. Stop trying to reframe your subjectivities as objective realities. I say what is. No, you don't. You've been plugging in your conjecture throughout this entire interview.
Feminism has effectively killed the nuclear family. It's hurt relationships Feminism has effectively killed the nuclear family. It's hurt relationships to a significant degree, because what's happened is we have a deregulated dating marketplace. And we have a deregulated dating marketplace.
No. You're a pussy, first and foremost. Secondly, it's people like you who kill the dating market, because you take men who are lost, confused, bitter, and need somebody to blame, and you give them somebody to blame. And you tell them the reason why you're sad, lost, depressed, and confused is because of women, or is because of feminism. Like, bro, get the fuck out of here, bro. Get the fuck out of here with that weirdo shit. You a fucking, this motherfucker's a cornball.
So when you leave women to their own devices, what do? They pick the best of the best. Well, guess what? When you pick the best of the best, these guys don't want to commit. So my thing is this. I know that you're saying like, hey, you want a woman with values, etc.
A, women don't always pick the best of the best. B, sometimes men commit to women, sometimes they don't. Sometimes women commit to men, sometimes they don't. Yo, this shit is so complicated, but you keep trying to like simplify the fuck out of it and reduce it just to get clicks and likes. That shit is weird. And you need to tell your audience that you're performing right now, that you are not speaking as an arbiter of truth or as a holder of knowledge. You're speaking as a performer. You're speaking as a social media influencer who's been able to launch your career off of making shock value content. No, I could see straight through. Listen, I've met very few people throughout the course of my life that are as scarily accurate when it comes to judging character. And one of the reasons why I'm so accurate is because I don't do it frequently. Because people are complex. Sometimes they can be hard to read. And Lord knows I got too many problems that I'm trying to deal with, confront, and manage to be judging other people. I don't have that type of authority. But for some motherfuckers, I hit the nail right on the head. And when I do cast judgment, I don't miss. So when I'm telling y'all that this motherfucker is a charlatan, trust me, he doesn't give a fuck about you or about men's mental health or about anybody except for himself, the people in his immediate circle. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt here. And his bottom line, and I think that's some fuck shit, because I don't like fake motherfuckers, and he's a fake motherfucker.
But I noticed that you had some pretty serious buffers here. You grew up in a fairly rural area, Christian family, strong family values. Most women don't have these things, okay? And you are a gross exception. You have one body count. Nowadays, if you take an average woman, she's going to have a higher body count than an average guy. You take an average 21-year-old girl, she's running her laps around an average 21-year-old guy when it comes to sexuality and dealing with them.
And so are men. And so are men. And that's what makes us more similar than we are different. But keep going on with that differences in the sexes.
In general. So I get it. It's fucked up that like a lot of guys live miserable lives, etc. But the reality is women don't give a fuck. So what I have to do is I have to give guys advice to deal with the sexual marketplace today, not 1950 when women were ladies, but today.
And for those of y'all who watch him, let me know how successful he's been. Since you started watching Fresh and Fit, has your body count gone up dramatically? Have you found the woman of your dreams? Have you made $1 million? Let me know in the comments. Let me know. I'm curious. Since it's your job to give advice, tell me what the outcomes are. I hope you have numbers and studies and surveys to back that up. Otherwise, you should shut the fuck up because you're making these social issues worse.
But today, feminized, masculine women that quite frankly put their careers over everything else. That's the reality. So, knowing that, I tell guys, you got to get out there and get experience as well. Because being a gentleman, being a nice guy, chivalry will put you in a very bad light.
Wait. So you can't have it both ways. Because on one hand, you think women are money-grubbing airheads who are with you for no reason but financial safety and security, and that they lack so much self-awareness to the extent that they don't even know what they want. But on the other hand, women are prioritizing their careers over everything else, and they're making all this money, and they're so driven and independent and too masculine. Which one is it, bro?
So I get what you're saying. It's fucked up that this is the way it is, but we got to operate on what is. So feminism has destroyed relationships, in my opinion. Not necessarily the guys.
Thank you for saying your opinion. That's the first time you said it in this interview.
The way men are responding with the depression and the sadness, etc., and the higher suicide rates, that's kind of a response to feminism a lot of the times, because a lot of guys really struggle with dealing with women. However, women have no problem with dealing with the opposite gender. 1 in 3 men now is either a virgin or hasn't had sex in a year. Women don't experience that same problem. If they are virgin or celibate, it's by choice. With men, it's not.
And I'm surprised you even said that problem. I talked about that on the last show we were on, and the girl's just like, who hurt you? You say it's giving insecurity, when I was talking about the same exact things that you're talking about. Most women don't care. So we need this,
bro, because you framing it in a fucked up way to blame it on them. Maybe they would care if you wasn't framing it in a way to blame it on them and say, it's because y'all aren't giving it up enough. It's because y'all are too prude. It's because y'all are weaponizing sex against men. Okay, there are certain women who fall within those categories. I agree with you, but that's not all of them. And if you lead with that, then yeah, why would you expect somebody to empathize with you if you start off on those terms? If you start off attacking them? Just like if I was having a conversation with somebody who was in the red pill community, not with one of these influencers because I'll tear them apart, but just with like a random dude like a little younger than me or something, somebody that I mentor, I'm not gonna start off by telling him, bro, you need to take accountability for your actions, bro, convert to feminism, bro, it's all your fault, bro, I don't care, just go get pussy. I'm not gonna deal with him in that manner. I'm not gonna tell him it's all his fault. But if you talking to women and you starting off with, yeah, men are going through all these issues because of you, of course they're gonna get on the defense.
I guess like this to help men because you won't.
So I would agree that women don't care. The issue is here's two things I would say.
Don't give that concession.
First of all, the idea of like a low body count, it's not all it's cracked up to be. I can tell you that personally. Fundamental Christian orgasm at a 37% less rate. They also have vaginismus at almost 40% more than other women, to the point where it's so bad that often penetration isn't even possible. So
But watch these guys. Let's see if they care. Or let's see if they're going to set another double standard, whereas women should empathize with men in the struggles that we go through, but we shouldn't have to empathize with women. Let's see what their response is to what she's saying.
When there's this shame attached to...
Let's see if it's going to be to validate or invalidate what she's saying. I have my guess because these motherfuckers seem beyond the pale, but we'll see. Benefit of the doubt.
Have vaginismus at almost 40% more than other women, to the point where it's so bad that often penetration isn't even possible. So when there's this shame attached to women around sexuality, it has a very pernicious effect on the women. Right?
Okay, and I understand that.
Straight to laughing. This motherfucker's response was to laugh. The other guy who was on the camera made a face. Myron says, I understand that.
What if I told you that having a guy that's 6'3" isn't all it's cracked up to be? They're really... But here's the thing. Yeah. Most women wouldn't. They would say, well, fuck you, I still want him. So what I'm saying is that
because it's like materialistic women.
Well, it's not that. It's you're hardwired to be attracted to it. So like if I could tell you a guy that's 6'4" isn't all.
He just glosses over everything she just said. They're so predictable. Everything they say, everything they do.
Cracked up to be his likelihood to die at a younger age is higher. He's gonna have a smart dick, whatever. I can say all the things I want to say, but women are still gonna be hardwired to be attracted to that guy because it's carnal. It's like, oh, he's tall, he can provide security. security. So with men, same thing. She has a low body count. Oh, she's a virgin.
Bro, every woman is not chasing a guy who's over 6 feet.
I know that my ability to have children with her is secure because women want security when it comes to resources and finances. Men want security and paternity. We're very different. So you can say that like if having sex with a virgin sucks and blah blah blah. No. Men are still gonna want it. Just like if I tell a girl you don't want a guy that's 6'6", she's still gonna want it.
And that's cap. That's cap because like y'all know y'all got toys. Don't play that game. Penetration hurts. You go ahead with that penetration, baby.
He just made fun of a fucking disorder. I hope to God that the men in my life don't turn into this fucking guy. And if they do, I failed. I'll take responsibility for that. It's reasonable to say, no, Manny, let other people take responsibility for their actions in the direction that they going. No, if somebody in my fucking circle falls down this rabbit hole and I can't do something to prevent it from happening, I fucked up. Because that shit is fucking gross. What he just did.
I wanted to go back to what we were talking about before because I grew up with a lot of guys, right? So I understand more of a male mentality over women, and as I got older, I understand women more now. And I feel like one of the things I feel really bad about men is like the huge pressure of toxic masculinity put on you guys because you grow up and it's like you're not allowed to cry. You gotta be strong. You gotta be tough. You gotta do this. You gotta do that. And that's why I feel like a lot of men don't know how to.
And these guys end up, and it's funny because the guys who embody toxic masculinity the most, they're the ones that end up being the biggest pussies, the ones that are the most sensitive whenever you try to talk to them about equal rights or feminism. And these are buzzwords that I don't fucking like. And this is probably the first time in months that I've even uttered the word feminism. It's not a word that I cling to. It's not a word that I necessarily identify with. I would say that I'm more into egalitarianism, right? Humanism. Everybody should be equal. We live in a society where men and women aren't equal. In some areas, men are not equal to women. In other areas, women are not equal to men. In some areas, women are being dealt a shitty hand, and in other areas, men are being dealt a shitty hand. In some areas of society, women need to take responsibility for their actions, and in other areas men need to start taking responsibility for their actions. But this shit ain't about feminism is destroying. No, it's motherfuckers that are intimidated by women. Let's keep it a buck. And those same motherfuckers are the ones that call themselves alpha male, but they'll be the first one to scream and pout and shout and kick their feet as soon as they're confronted with a view that they don't agree with.
Express themselves because society just pushes you down. And it's like if you had a little bit more like love and tenderness in you, you would be able to communicate your feelings better.
But most dads are not, most people don't even know how to be parents, bro. This goes back to my philosophy that most people are not fit to be parents, and in fact their decision to bring children into this world, even though they know they're not equipped to teach them the things they need to learn in order to be good, is what's destroying this world. It's not feminism, it's people that don't know how to raise their fucking kids right. I feel like a broken record at this point, but you got to teach children how to respect themselves, how to value themselves, because when you respect yourself, when you value yourself, when you love yourself, when you accept yourself, you respect other people, you value other people, you love other people. But if you haven't checked off any of those boxes and you walking around insecure, feeling like you got to fucking flex your muscles, have $1 million in your bank account and be the loudest voice in the room, how do you think you're going to treat other people? You're going to behave in a way that's self-centered, that's self-entitled, that's self-indulgent. So a lot of this shit comes down to being able to identify where your trauma is and develop healthy coping mechanisms around it, to the extent that your trauma or whatever bullshit you've been through in the past isn't fucking up your life in the present and is not fucking up other people's lives.
And you'd be able to love properly, and it just sucks that society really does put that on you guys. And I feel like me, like with my guy friends, with the guy that I'm dating, I really do try to have like those sit down talks with them, you know, because a lot, men and women, a lot of people aren't over
he's fucking laughing like a fucking 7-year-old, bro. What the fuck are you laughing at, bro? She's saying some real shit. What's wrong with you? You're not mature enough to have a fucking adult conversation, and anytime you do jump into the conversation, it's a joke that two people laugh at. I'm like, yo, how childish. This is why guys like that, they don't get pussy. Because they don't deserve it. If you behave like that, if you're a grown-ass man and you're behaving like a 7-year-old when adults are talking and you snickering in the background, you don't deserve pussy, bro. You need to go back to elementary school and learn the fucking manners that your second grade teacher was trying to teach you. But you didn't listen because you were a class clown back then.
As problems, they just want to shove it down. They don't want to face their fears. They're not accepting what happened to them. No, but it's serious. It's serious. In general, all of us, you need to accept what happened. You don't forget it. You need to accept it and learn from it and move on from it so you don't affect another person the way that...
I couldn't be around these stupid motherfuckers. I'll fuck around, lose 10 IQ points. And I know somebody in the comments is going to be like, that's more than you had before. Because people usually say funny stuff like that. I mean... What do you want me to say? That
you've been affected. I feel like everybody likes to be on that hamster wheel, and that's fucked up. Well, especially for men, I feel so bad for guys.
Real quick, I just want to say one thing. I think toxic masculinity doesn't exist. I think it's a lie propagated by...
She showed you how women care. She just gave you an example of how some women do care about the shit that we go through. And you just switched the subject after playing that sentimental music as a joke. She just proved your entire shit wrong. And your response was to switch the subject
by the left to try to go ahead and insult masculinity. And then number two,
and then he goes back to the political talking points. Bro, be a fucking adult. Not everything is about the left and the right and the Democrats and the Republicans and feminism and red pill. The world does not operate like that. It does not operate in those binaries. This is not the kind of place for humble, respectful, thoughtful conversation, bro. This is not the type of place for that.
I don't think men should be vulnerable with women ever. I genuinely don't think that women are not.
This is why men are in the situation that they're in, because of statements like that. You talking about how you care about men's mental health, motherfucker, but you telling men not to open up, not to be vulnerable, not to let their guard down around women? You just contradicted all the data that tells us it's good to open up. It's good to be vulnerable with the right person. It's good to share your feelings and get shit off your chest. That's part of what makes a relationship healthy, bro. That communication, that open communication. But you're not advocating for men to be healthy minded. You're advocating for men to behave like you, knowing damn well that most people don't have the money you have. So if men walk around emulating you and seeing you as their role model, that's a death sentence. So like I said, y'all, if y'all want to follow this stupid motherfucker, I don't want to call him stupid because he's not stupid. He's not stupid. He knows exactly what he's doing. He just doesn't give a fuck. That's the vibe that I'm getting. Because no way you make it to this point being a dumb motherfucker. Because he's saying all the right things to recruit certain types of individuals that cling to this message. He's checking all the boxes. Oh, feminism, the left. Soy boy, the difference in sexes, all the buzzwords you need to build a platform off the backs of lonely men. He's hitting all those talking points, and I can't fuck with it. On that note, it's been a pleasure. Y'all let me know what you think about this reaction, what you think about this interview in the comments, and I will see y'all next time. Peace.